Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful research method called grounded theory. Now, what's so cool about it? It's all about building theories not from some pre-existing idea, but directly from the data, literally from the ground up. So let's kick things off with a big question. How are new scientific theories even born? I mean, do we always have to start with a theory we want to test, or can we actually build one from scratch just by looking at the world around us? All right, here's what we've got on tap. We're going to start with the whole building versus testing idea. Then we'll get into what grounded theory actually is. After that, we'll walk through the nitty-gritty, coding, how you organize your thoughts, and how it all leads to that final theory. It's going to be a great journey.
Okay, first up, let's really get into this whole building versus testing idea. Because, when it comes to research, there are really two main ways to think about creating knowledge.
So on one hand, you have the traditional approach. This is what we usually think of as science, right? It's deductive. You start with a big theory, and then you go out and collect data to see if you're right. It's very top-down. But grounded theory? Whoa, it completely flips that script. It's inductive, which means it's bottom-up. You start with the raw, messy, real-world data, and you let the theory emerge, just grow right out of your observations. Which, of course, brings us to the main event. So what exactly is this grounded theory? What does it mean to build a theory from the ground up? Well, the name really gives it away. The theory is literally grounded in the data. It's not some abstract idea that you're trying to force onto the world. Nope. It's an explanation that grows organically, naturally, from everything you see, hear, and observe. I love this analogy. Think of it like you're a detective showing up at a crime scene. You don't walk in with your mind already made up about who did it, right? Of course not. You gather clues, you interview witnesses, you look for patterns in all the evidence. It's only after you've collected all that raw information that you start to piece together an explanation, a theory of what actually happened. That, right there, is the heart and soul of grounded theory. Okay, so a few things make this method really unique. First, it's what we call iterative. That means data collection and analysis aren't separate steps. They happen at the same time in a cycle. Your analysis of the data you just collected actually tells you where to go look for more data. This is a really important idea called theoretical sampling. And get this, data can be almost anything. We're not just talking numbers. It could be field notes, interviews, articles, even just conversations. If it helps you build the theory, it's data. All right, let's get into the real engine room of this whole process. We're talking about coding. This is how you take all that raw, messy data and start to make sense of it, to turn it into a real theory. And this isn't just some random thing. It's a really systematic three-phase process. You can think of it as a journey, really. You start by breaking down the data, then you start making connections, and finally, you build the whole story. It's all about moving from scattered details to one central, powerful explanation. So, phase one is called open coding. Imagine you're looking at a transcript from an interview about, say, workplace stress. You'd go through it line by line and just start labeling interesting ideas. You might see phrases like endless emails or conflicting deadlines, and you just give them a little label or a code. The most important thing here is to be completely open. You're not trying to fit things into boxes you've already created. You're just labeling what's there. Okay, next up, axial coding. This is where the magic starts to happen. You take all those little codes you just made and you start looking for connections between them. So maybe endless emails, after-hours calls, and urgent requests all seem to be pointing to a bigger idea, right? Like communication overload. So you group them together under that category. You're basically finding the axes, the main hubs that all your smaller ideas connect to. And that leads us to the final phase, selective coding. This is where the story, the main plot, really comes into focus. You step back and you identify one core category, that single central theme that everything else seems to revolve around. So maybe communication overload isn't just a category, maybe it's the core category that explains all the others, like employee burnout or decreased productivity. And now you can build a single solid narrative around that core idea. You've found your story. Okay, so you're coding, you're building categories, a story's starting to emerge, but how do you keep all your own thoughts straight? How do you actually develop the theory in your own head? Well, this is where a super important practice called memoing comes in. Seriously, think of memos as your research diary. As you're analyzing the data, you're constantly writing little notes to yourself. You might question a connection, explore a new thought, or just sketch out an idea. You're basically thinking on paper. And this isn't just about taking notes. This is where the theory itself really starts to come alive. All right, we're getting close to the finish line now. The data's coded, your memos are packed with insights. So how do you pull all of this together into a final, polished theory? The next step is sorting, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. You take that big pile of memos you've written and you start to organize them. You lay them out, you put them in order, and you begin to outline the structure of your theory. You can finally see how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. It's that amazing moment where all the messiness of discovery starts to become a clear, logical story. And finally, of course, there's the writing. But this isn't just about writing up your results. It's the final, crucial step, where that whole narrative you've built through coding, memoing, and sorting gets formally presented as a brand new theory. It's a complete set of ideas that explains the phenomenon you've been studying, born directly from the data. So after all that, what's the big takeaway here? Why go through this whole intensive process instead of just, grabbing a theory off the shelf and testing it? Well, its real power is in its disciplined, systematic approach to genuine discovery. That's the key word. It lets new insights, totally fresh perspectives emerge directly from the world we're looking at, instead of just being stuck with what we already think we know. And that really leaves us with a pretty cool thought to end on, doesn't it? If we actually approach the world with this kind of open, systematic curiosity, just imagine what new understandings, what hidden theories about our world are just out there, waiting to be discovered.